Welcome to The Businesswoman. I'm Amanda Rose and today I'm with Catherine Fox. Previously Deputy Editor of Boss Magazine, but also, and more importantly ladies, the columnist of Corporate Woman for the Australian Financial Review and author of 7 Myths About Women and Work. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for coming on to The Businesswoman. I have so many questions for you. Women want to know so much about what you know about women. Firstly, the corporate world. You talk about the 7 myths about women and work, and it's a bit controversial in some places, but I'd like to know what you think women are doing right, but also what they're doing wrong in the corporate world, because we're too busy trying to work it out on our own.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd reframe that. I don't think it's a case of women doing the right or wrong thing.
Okay.
I think we set that up in exactly the wrong way.
Fantastic.
It's time we stop asking what's wrong with women.
Yes.
It's a quote I often use,
Yes, it is.
and ask what's wrong with our organisations, because what we're talking about here is systemic discrimination.
Yes.
It's not about the personal, it's about the political, the famous Gloria Steinem quote. Women have been told, I think particularly in the last couple of decades, that it's their choices that end up providing the problems for them in
their own fault.
in their careers. Exactly, it's their own fault. It's something they've done wrong. Oh darn! If I just didn't have those children and fulfil my biological
I married the other
destiny,
man.
if I married that other guy, you know, whatever. And I just think it's time we took that burden off them. I was reading something. I was amused to read something the other day, kind of in the wake of Sheryl Sandberg, the Facebook COO's book, Lean In, and another couple of controversies. And there was a little piece in Forbes magazine saying, enough with the advice to women, right? We just constantly are hammering them with so much confusing advice, looking in the wrong direction. We should be examining our workplaces, the way we model success, what we expect of mothers, particularly, but also parents generally, the norms and stereotypes in our society. It's a big agenda, but that's where we should be looking.
That's right. And speaking of that, changing organisational culture, being predominantly male at the moment, you know, with the boards and so forth, do you think it's going to take 10, 20 years for this shift to happen? Is there something women can do to speed that process up?
Well, again, I think probably men and women can do lots of things to speed the process
Are men willing to
up.
do something though?
I think for a lot of men, it's not evil, an evil sort of conspiracy to
Is it
prevent.
inconvenient for them?
It's inconvenient.
Yes.
There's a comfort factor about running things the way that we've always run them. I think human beings are all like that. I mean, we default very much back to traditional ways of operating. We do that again with the family, and who cleans the toilet, my acid test, my Harpic test. But we do it about a whole lot of things. And I think traditional workplaces, the workplace structures actually have shifted very little, in fact. And when I started out about 30 years ago...
20.
Exactly. I was a prodigy as well, of course. Look, I really thought things would change. I thought the logic of women flooding into the workplace, armed with degrees and qualifications, would just naturally change things. That's one of my myths. The whole idea that time would heal all. Now,
Which is what people are assuming now.
Exactly. So when you ask, do I think in 10, 20 years, I think if we continue the way we've been going, no. And I argue in the book that I think metrics, targets, quotas, if needs be, are the way to act as a circuit breaker.
Quotas. Now that is a hot topic.
Is.
What do you think with quotas, for example? Do you think if a board sets the quota or a company that women will just be seen as the token female on a board?
Women already are seen as token females. I think most of the arguments about quotas are spurious.
Yes.
You have to examine them and pull them apart. A lot of them are based on an idea there's simply not enough women to take these roles up. Suitable, qualified women. Well, we know that's rubbish.
Yes.
About 3 years ago, when the Institute of Company Directors here and a number of other bodies started to actually actively look at this, they increased the number of women from appointed to listed company boards from 5% to over 30% in the space of 2 years. And can I just tell you...
So they're willing and waiting.
None of those women have been disasters. They've all been
right.
very successful. So, and 50% of those new appointments were not on listed company boards previously. So I think that is a faulty argument. I think actually we do have to change the way that we look at criteria for promotion and experience and so on, because we hear some very dodgy reasons not to put women on boards. Again, it's disruptive.
Yes.
And sometimes when you bring different people who are not part of the cosy club into a group, whether it's a board or anywhere else, change.
People
It's
resist
disruptive,
change.
and it takes more time to kind of work out a way of operating. So I think, and again, can I just add, women can be like that in their own environments. So I think we're all like that. It's a bit tribal.
So it's not a male-female
No.
issue, it's just a generalist issue in business.
Right. Yes,
that
I
needs
think
to be
so.
dealt
And very, as I say, very traditional assumptions about who makes a good leader. And I think
Yes.
what we've seen writ large on the political stage is how uneasy it
You need
makes
to be
us.
tall.
It needs to be tall, but how uneasy it makes us to have a woman Prime Minister. So
Yes.
we've seen a very interesting and rather disturbing example of that playing out over the last 2.5 years.
That's a very good point.
Now, I'm the first to say there's been many problems along the way. But that's irrelevant. It's the sexism that we're talking about. So that's using gender as the basis for the criticism, and that's been quite eye-opening and not particularly in a good way. So I heard Anna Bligh, the former Premier of Queensland, recently saying the first person through the wall always gets bloody. And I actually think she's right about that. And she said to me that she still thinks that overall, for young women in this country, having had a woman in the role of Prime Minister and a woman as Premier of Queensland and so on, has broken down some ideas about who is a suitable leader. So I
and
think
changed goals as well,
changed
that women
goals, yeah.
that never thought they could
That's right.
aspire to be like that
Indeed.
can.
Well, it changes the norm.
We can do
doesn't
it now.
We can do it. Yeah.
So we're making change.
We are. Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
on a personal note, you've been very successful in a journalism and a businesswoman angle or career. You're looked up to by a lot of people. You've been deputy editor of Boss magazine, a columnist for Australian Financial Review, Corporate Woman, which I personally absolutely loved when you were doing that. How did you get to that level of success? A lot of women don't know what they need to be doing to be you, or to get a column into AFR and represent a niche. You
Okay.
know?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is you shouldn't want to be me. And seriously, I think it's wonderful to share experiences. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing. I talk all around Australia and in the media about this. So I absolutely agree that we need to encourage, literally give each other courage, but you shouldn't be trying to emulate anyone. And I always say to women, it's wonderful to have role models because it broadens our outlook, but we shouldn't be trying to model ourselves on anyone in particular. That said, I've learnt a lot from hearing how women have gone about their careers in a slightly different way.
Yes.
So off the main run, if you like, off-piste and in
Something
a different
different,
way.
yeah.
In a different way. So, and it's very kind of you to say I've been very successful. I certainly don't wake up in the morning and think, yes, I've been very successful.
I've made it.
I've made it. And I've been absolutely grateful for all the opportunities I've had. And I'm very lucky because I've grown up in a white middle-class family in Australia. Would that it was different, but I've had so many incredible lucky breaks in my life, so I'd be the first to acknowledge that. But the second thing is what I understood, because I had 3 kids in a fairly short period of time. So I had 3 children under 3, a set of twins.
That's very brave.
And unplanned, clearly. So, and that was a very difficult time, bringing up a small family, trying to keep a job and so on. So for a long time there, I went part-time. I'm a great believer in flexible work.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we do have to do is normalise that for men and women. So I think we have to look at that differently. But I have to say Fairfax was very good about that. So I worked part-time for a long time at the Financial Review. But after a while, it was also clear to me that there were other options available for me. Writing books,
Yes.
And on the back of that, actually doing a bit of media, which raises your profile. Then you get asked to commentate and also do a lot of public speaking, which I have to say is something I continue to do now. I left Fairfax last year, so I'm continuing.
2 different
on a
worlds,
freelance-
really, isn't it?
It's very
Writing a
different.
column,
Yeah.
and now you're sharing that with everyone.
That's right, and the column was absolutely a labour of love. I did it for a long time, and again, I have to say to their credit, the Financial Review is probably one of the only dailies, possibly in the Western world, that's had a consistent column like that around women and business.
Look, I agree. I know for a fact, because that was the only column I could read on radio that I knew was covering the corporate woman and the issues. So
it's really
we
important.
miss it.
Yes,
We do miss
yes,
it. But we have the book for now, and then we're looking forward to possibly more.
Oh, there'll be more.
Now, if there's something you could share to a career professional right now, a woman even running her own business, now that you've covered off both, starting out on your own as a freelancer, is there a piece of advice you could share with them that would kind of push them along and inspire them a little bit?
I think we all get trapped into, and I certainly did being in a listed company, and in fact before I joined Fairfax I was also working in listed companies. I think we all get rather locked into the idea of a linear classic ladder career.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we're talking about, and again I talk about in the book, is looking at different models of success. So not always thinking I have to go further up this way. To look at, it's something now called the matrix career, or there are various expressions for it. The other thing I would say that kind of goes hand in hand with that is, for women, I think our careers are very much a cyclical sort of nature. So at times we can be full on, at other times we may step back and choose to combine other duties, caring responsibilities,
okay.
not just around kids, ageing parents and so on, huge issue in this country. So I think that, and I don't think this is just for women, but I think it's particularly pertinent to women, because we are still, the ones who do 80% of the caring work in Australia. So nothing to say we can't change that, but for the moment I think we have to understand, we also have to realise that we'll have very long careers.
Yes.
50 years in the workplace. So I hear a lot of women in their 30s in that crucial sort of, career pivot point.
The thrisis.
With kids, saying, but I say, do think a little bit further on. You do have a much longer career, and you do need to support yourself in retirement. So these are not trivial issues. They're also not, they're sometimes characterised as being very middle class, getting the next step up the ladder and into the C-suite. Actually, no, it's about being paid properly, having enough money for your retirement. It's basic stuff. So it's really important.
That's right. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for coming on The Businesswoman.
Pleasure.
We absolutely love having you. That was Catherine Fox, author of 7 Myths About Women and Work. Thank you for joining me on The Businesswoman. I'm Amanda Rose, and I'll see you next time.